Juggling multiple client sites? Supercharge your productivity with AI made for agencies. Instantly create unique and compelling content. Improve existing copy. And shorten or lengthen text to fit the space. But that's just the beginning. Generate new site sections, including relevant copy, images, and suggested section layouts. Simply scan the website for SEO issues. See all recommendations in one place. With just one click, easily add meta titles, description, and more to all site pages. Entire sites optimized in seconds. You can even add alt text to all of a site's images in one place. Launch sites in no time and deliver better client results with the power of AI. Build faster, better, and smarter with Duda.
Oh, hi. Welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you for Navigating Zero-Click Marketing, Strategies to Succeed in a Platform-Native World. You're here, you're taking this time for you to invest in yourself. And I wanted to share that today is not just a dialogue from any one of us. It is very much, it's not a monologue from any one of us. It's very much a dialogue. You're part of our round table today, where what we're going to do is dive into strategies for marketers like you and me to get the right message to the right audience and to measure success without relying on clicks. So how do we do that? And what does it mean for the future? That's what our panelists will answer today. So I'm Purna Virji. I am your host for today. I am also the Principal Content Solutions Consultant at LinkedIn and the best-selling author of High Impact Content Marketing. So today I'll get to host, ask all of the deep questions, and I'll keep an eye in the chat for all of your questions and make sure that I will bring your voice in to ask or answer questions myself. Now, joining me is a cherished friend, but also everybody's favorite marketer, Rand Fishkin. So Rand is the co-founder and CEO of SparkToro, the amazing audience research software. And he's also the CEO and co-founder of the indie game developer Snack Bar Studio. Now I'm so excited because I know one of their games is based out of Italy and has to do with lots of good food. So I cannot wait. Now, for anyone who hasn't actually lived this themselves, Rand has dedicated his entire professional life to helping people do better marketing through his writing, video, speaking, and his book, Lost and Founder. And he's also dedicated to empowering and uplifting other people's careers. I think there's a lot of us that will raise our hands and say that we have had any success in our career as a direct result of Rand and his generosity. And so when Rand's not working, he's also cooking up a fancy, incredible meal for the love of his life, author Geraldine DeRuiter. So I am trying to get myself adopted into that household so I can eat all of that delicious food. So yeah. Yes, I'm so excited. Also, our co-panelist for today is Itai Saddam, the CEO and co-founder of Duda, our host for today. Now, Duda is a leading web design platform. And now, when I was researching Itai a little bit more, because we've all seen Itai like the brilliant marketer, the co-founder, the sort of brilliant everything, but I dug a little deeper and I found two super fun facts. So Itai, I hope you don't mind me sharing them. The first one is like all amazing founder stories. Itai started Duda from his garage in Mountain View, California. So, clearly this is just the tip of the iceberg where your success is coming from. And for anyone wondering where the name Duda comes from, it's a variation of Dude, the main character in Itai's favorite movie of all time, The Big Lebowski. So we all know that Itai is, of course, most well-known and most sort of recognized and published for his expertise in SMBs and digital agencies and online marketing. So we're going to have such a fun and knowledge-filled session today. And the good news is all of you get to be a big part of this roundtable as well. So keep adding your questions in the chat. But let's just dive in. And to get us to dive in, I thought, let's get all of us on the same page as much as we can. And so, Rand, I want to start with you because just a few days ago, your team at SparkToro released data showing that almost 60% of searches now result in no clicks. Can you share a little bit more about what you're seeing and like why is this more than just a trend?
Yeah. So let's see. So the zero-click search data was from a few months ago, and essentially we work with. Are you guys seeing my video a little funny, or does it look fine for you?
A little bit of delay.
Huh.
But your voice is coming out well. Just
okay, great. Hang on just a second. I'm going to stop my camera, turn it off, and back on again, which is the universal way to fix everything in technology. This is gonna instantly work.
But have you tried turning it off and on again thing, right? That always works.
All right, let's see. Medium. Gosh, it worked so well all the rest of the time. Who knew? Okay, well, regardless, I tell you what I will do. I will pull up that zero-click search study for you because we have got a lot of cool data there. Mm-hmm. One of your microphones, Itai or Purna, might not have the echo cancellation turned on. I see some folks chatting about it. Okay, I'm going to show you this data because I think it is quite remarkable. Present. Share screen. Yep. Great. Cool. Okay, so I think you can see my screen here. And essentially what we're looking at is that that data showing what happens after Americans search the web. This data is coming to us from a clickstream panel from Datos, which Datos was actually bought recently by SEMrush. And they have tens of millions of panelists worldwide. I believe they have millions of panelists here in the US. And so basically this is looking at every URL that's visited by these folks. And after a search happens, 41.5% of the time, a click occurs, and 58.5% of the time, no click occurs. And even when a click occurs, a lot of those clicks, Purna and Itai, go to YouTube, Google Maps, Google Images, Google News, right? Another Alphabet-owned property, and obviously some paid ads as well. And so, yeah, for every 1,000 US Google searches, 360 clicks are going to the open web. For those of you who are thinking, well, I'm in Europe, and we have a bunch of regulations around self-preferencing in Europe, which the EU Commission does indeed have. Well, doesn't make that much of a difference, unfortunately. You get 14 more clicks to the open web per search. So, yeah, we are certainly in a place where Google is taking a huge percent of the value of search for themselves. And Google, by the way, is not alone. We looked at who sends traffic on the web and how much earlier this year, Purna, and you can see that nobody's sending traffic out, right? Google is the largest traffic referrer by far, like massive, massive traffic referrer. Everyone else is much smaller. TikTok, one of the most popular sites and apps in the world, sends almost no referring traffic out. LinkedIn, I don't want to complain, but Purna, get to work, send us more traffic. LinkedIn actually sends me a great deal of traffic, but it is almost all indirect. So here's what happens, right? Someone watches a video on LinkedIn, it has no link. It's just a video sort of talking about, what's going on in digital marketing world or something with SparkToro. And then they go to Google and they search for SparkToro, right? And so who gets the credit in the analytics? Who gets the credit when the CFO, the CEO, the executive team reviews all the traffic? It's not LinkedIn, where that search intent happened and that caused that person to be interested in our brand and product. It is unfortunately Google who's getting the credit. And so I have this frustration around this. I think we're living in this zero-click world, and certainly all the data that we've collected suggests that this is exactly what's going on. And so now we have to come up with solutions.
I agree. We need solutions. Well, of course, I want to talk more about zero-click marketing strategy, but it also goes down to attribution, as you said, Rand. Like, if so much of social media sometimes is the traffic, is the generator of demand, and then search and other like bottom funnels tend to be the capturer of demand. But if all of the analytics are only looking at last click or super bottom funnel, then you do tend to miss a big part of the big picture. Now we're going to talk zero click, and Itai, I'm going to ask you this question first, because I get asked this all the time at LinkedIn, that should I have my link in my post, or should I just put it in the comments? And my answer to that is, my friends, like, who are you trying to appeal to? You're always trying to appeal to the human. If you do what's best for the human, because the algorithms change every single day, right? There's not one single algorithm. There's just multiple different parts that are changing every minute of every day. And what they're trying to pursue is what's best for the people. And so they're going to try to come. Algorithms want to chase people, because the more people come and use the platform, the more useful it is, right? Good content gets rewarded with more views. So if you're trying to figure out, should I put my link in the post? Should I not put it in there? Do what's best for your people, and then that will always follow. But that doesn't always work, isn't it, Itai? Like, what if it's in a place that you can't control? Like, how would you describe a zero-click marketing strategy? And you'll unmute briefly. So,
thanks, Purna. Yeah, this is a super fascinating topic, and I think, there's nothing is shocking to me here. Like, I think also the data that Rand showed. I think this is, also in Duda itself, we're seeing, we've seen it for many years. It's very hard to attribute a lot of the traffic that is coming to Duda.co, right? A lot of it is direct or from Google. But we know people, these people who are keying in Duda.co, they've heard about us somewhere. So I think it's really continue to focus on the things that matter. As you said, not chasing the algorithms, continue to make sure like the overall traffic to your site is continuing to go up and to the right. So you must be doing some of the right things, even though it's harder to attribute. It's harder for us as marketers to say, where should I put the next dollar? Because I don't know necessarily where the dollars that I've put, what is working better and what is working worse. And that's really the biggest challenge of what do I do more and what do I do less. But there's obviously the things that you have to do, and like making sure that you have great content on your website continues to be absolutely key for any marketer, and we'll talk much more about it. Doesn't matter if also in a zero-click world. Rand, feels like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, Itai. Okay, there was just one thing. I agree with you on all the rest, but there's just one thing that stood out to me that I'm not sure I agree with, and that is you want to make sure that traffic is going up and to the right. And I am not sure about that. I think that, and I've seen a bunch of examples of this, like Will Reynolds did this great presentation recently at Brighton SEO, which I was at a few weeks ago in San Diego. And he was basically showing this graph of Sears traffic falling 40% over the last 2 years. And a lot of that is AI overviews and Google sort of answering a lot of marketing related questions like right in their results. And Sears revenue and number of new clients and new leads going up at the same time. Revenue and leads are up 15%, traffic is down 40%, and Will's going, am I still supposed to care about traffic? Does traffic matter? I don't think it does. I think that's the wrong thing. And if we focus on measuring visits, especially those of us who, worked in, like, for those who don't know, my previous career was in SEO, at a company called Moz. And like the SEO world is very traffic focused. How do I increase my traffic? How do I get more and more of it? But for businesses, it might be fine, if Google takes, 80% of Nike's traffic away, but Nike sees that digital sales go up 10%, I don't know if they care, right? And they might be focusing on the wrong thing by thinking about traffic.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to sort of put that challenge out there.
Yeah, Ren, I think it's a fair point, and I think traffic is a predecessor to other things that we care much more about, right? How much is our revenue in our company growing? Or if I'm a coffee place, are people coming into my store? Are people calling me, and are people booking appointments? So we are right, like the transactions that are happening are the most important things. I think it's going to be hard to persuade me that, hey, every business should have their traffic tank and their business is going to be great. I think
I'm totally fair.
But I think in general, like as a predecessor, you want to make sure that all the metrics getting up to the actual transaction happening are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, someone mentioned in the comments, I think someone mentioned branded search traffic, and that I think, yeah, there you go.
Yes,
branded search traffic, right? So people searching for Duda, people searching for your personal name, right? Like searching for Pernavirji, searching for Rand Fishkin, searching for SparkToro, whatever. That to me is quite an indication and a strongly correlated metric of like rising brand interest. And I would suggest that that's probably a really good corollary with the metrics that you're looking for. But raw traffic, especially traffic from non-branded search terms, a lot of the like sort of traffic focused content marketing that we've historically done in the digital marketing universe, I think that era might be fading for a lot of people.
I agree. There's a great quote from Andy Bounce, who's a sales and leadership coach based out of the UK, where he's like, look, it's so easy to make a lot of noise now if you want to, but noise doesn't equal success. Like success equals success. Like the only thing that matters is, does it make money? So even before we dive deeper into the measurement, though, I'm definitely grilling you both on measurement questions a little later on. Ren, I'm going to start with you. Like what now? Marketers might perceive some of the zero-click marketing as some loss of control, but what are the opportunities that you see for visibility and engagement that perhaps people aren't seeing? And then Itai, I'm going to ask you the same question right after.
Yeah. So, Perna, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but I think about it essentially as, it's really weird. It's a strange thing, right? I grew up in digital marketing world, but the last 4 or 5 years with SparkToro, my new startup, and now with Snackbar too, with the video game, I think about marketing way more in the way that the 20th century marketers might have, right? So, how do I get my brand in the places where people pay attention, the right people pay attention, with the right message that resonates, and getting those right people sort of over their potential objections, so that they see the value in whatever, subscribing to our software or signing up to get a notification when our video game launches or whatever it is. And I think that requires a completely different mental model shift away from, I know we're going to talk about this more, but away from attribution. Like this channel sent me this specific visitor. They came to my site this many times. They consumed this content and then they converted. And much more, we invested in doing this marketing thing. And over the following 90 days or 6 months or even a year, we saw this much lift. And that leads a lot of people to immediately go, well, but you don't know for sure that the thing that you did resulted in the positive outcome. And my response to that is, if the numbers are going up and to the right, and the marketing things that I'm doing are, we believe, reaching the right people, I kind of don't care if I'm wasting some marketing spend or some marketing activity. I don't care that much. I'm okay with putting dollars and time into some wrong places in exchange for what appears to be a positive outcome. And I'd rather do that than sort of have the attribution bias model of investing in wrong places simply because they're able to take credit for traffic and sales that would have happened anyway.
100,000%. And I'm so So bullish on that as well. We've had many conversations, like so many times, like we just forget. Was it like every generation thinks they've invented sex? Like, and every
Totally.
generation of marketers think they've invented marketing. I'm like, wait, this existed. Like before the internet, we could still do this stuff. We could still track this stuff. It was all possible. So looking at direct response, looking at even like direct mail and like all of these other cool disciplines that just worked so well. It's almost like the internet trained us on this like really easy. It's like the fast food, isn't it? Like, oh, go look at this. It's so easy. Like, yeah, if you go spend money on this ad platform, then my ad platform's metrics will go and show you how it all came from us. So in any case, but Itai, I'd love for you to share, like, what are some of the opportunities you see, especially
Yeah.
you work with so many
I'm going to
SMBs.
be I'm going to be in full agreement with you guys here. That and I think maybe people on this call are going to be disappointed because we're telling them in this new world you actually need to do pretty much what you did before and historically what has been done in marketing for for over a decade. And I feel this has always kind of been the case. I know I've been running Duda for 14 years, and the endless times in my career have I heard the question of, will websites be needed in the future? I heard that question of, will websites will be needed when social media came, and everybody thought that no, businesses will not need websites because now it's all going to be on social media. But guess what? Websites are still around, and businesses are still building websites, and traffic from social media to websites where actually businesses own the place, they own their brand, they can communicate, they can have direct relationships, is still very extremely important. When mobile apps came, people asked me, "Oh, will websites still be needed? Because every business is going to build a mobile app." Well, guess what? There's a lot of mobile apps out there, and still websites are needed. So, kind of coming back to our discussion of a lot of these, I think the digital landscape is becoming more complex. There's more places where consumers and users are doing their search. There's more channels. SMBs need to be in these channels, but the underlying tools and the underlying sources of data, like websites, and are still there, are extremely important, are feeding. A lot of that data is feeding when we talk about zero search, right? Like AI overviews in Google, where's that data? Where's that data coming from? It's coming from your website. It's coming from other directories and listings and Yelp and a lot of other places. Or when ChatGPT comes up with the answer, where are they getting the answer, right? So it's very important to continue and invest in the traditional tools that marketers and small businesses have always been investing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay. By the way, so many lovely comments in the chat, so thank you, and please keep that up, and feel free to throw in questions. I'll be more than happy to ask it for you. But Ita, you started talking about ChatGPT and all the other different AI. I mean, of course, we're in such a splintered world. People go to different places, which actually just reinforces the fact that you should just have a presence everywhere, right? Rand, our common friend Lexi Mills, says that even if you are, this the toe fungus cream, you don't need to have the most beautiful Instagram or TikTok visual profile because you're a toe fungus cream, but just have a presence and guide people to the different channels that you can dominate and do really well. And so yes, you can be there. There's some things that you can control, like your social media presence. You can do all of that, your own channels. But what about these ChatGPT, the co-pilots, all of these AI tools? Like when searches are increasingly happening there and searchers get the immediate answers, like what does it mean for websites? What does it mean for SEO? Itai, I'll toss it to you first, and then I'll come to you next, Rand.
Yeah, I think it really what I mentioned before. I think trying to chase these algorithms and Poorna, you said it yourself. Do the right thing for the consumer. Make sure that your content is out there. What these algorithms are looking for is the best content to answer the question that the consumer has. So make sure your website is up to date. Make sure your business information, your telephone numbers, all these things on your website and everywhere else in the web is consistent. Make sure that you have quality content, right? It's actually, you need to create even more content than in the past to be able to answer very specific questions that people might have, right? If you are a pizzeria in Denver and you're serving gluten-free pizza, hopefully that is mentioned in your website, because these are the things that people will ask. And these are the things that the algorithms will look for.
Yeah, I was gonna, so I think that using your owned media to influence how essentially the sort of models that all the AIs are going to build their corpuses off of, those are trained, especially when it comes to the long tail of stuff, those are trained on web crawled data. Right. And so if you, for example, you look up the word toe fungus cream plus your brand, and you look up toe fungus cream versus other brands, and you see that they are mentioned far more frequently, right? Their brand is mentioned far more frequently alongside the word toe fungus cream across the web, especially across the sorts of properties that OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and Facebook, Meta, right, and all these places are using. Then guess what? You're probably going to be behind in what an AI search recommends. You're probably going to be behind in those AI overviews that show up in Google search results or at the top of Bing. And so we were just talking about this earlier, right? Chris Ferris was in the comments there, and Chris was noting PR and media. PR and media is such a huge investment for an AI-driven future, because getting your brand name next to the words and phrases that you want to be associated with is no longer just in the minds of consumers via, advertising and marketing. It's now in language models that propagate across, potentially billions of users in the future. I also did want to bring up this. So there, really smart guy, Chris Long, who's from Go Fish Digital. I'm going to put it in the comments, but it's a LinkedIn post he put up showing an example of how nearly overnight he was able to change ChatGPT's results for their brand. And I thought it was fascinating because I haven't seen anything like this before. It's not a super common use case. We're not talking about like changing the language model and getting, in this case, Go Fish Digital, their brand name associated with new words. This is a case of how they came up once someone had queried about Go Fish Digital, and how they were able to, using their content on their website, make ChatGPT show different results. I think it's fascinating. Oh, the comment has failed to post. Wait, let me try that again. Hopefully that URL will show. Woo! All right. Wow, that's not a pretty URL.
It is a long one. I know. I will apologize. It appends with all of that. But again, so there's a comment from Hans which says like, "Oh, right for people, not the machine," and that's actually really true. And look, I worked at a search engine platform before. I worked for a social media platform. Like honestly, I can tell you like how these platforms make money is like when more people come, the more people spend time, or the more traffic volume there is, the more you can charge for a click, right? So the algorithms are really out there to make sure that they're giving the most relevant, the most valued answer to people, because that way people will come back. There's so much competition. Why do you want to come back here? It's because the algo is serving you. And so you really want to service the people and not go in and chase the algo, because it's, what's that saying? You're skating to where the puck was and not where the puck's going next, right? Because by the time you've sort of tried to reverse engineer and go forth, it's probably already changing on. So it's such a futile game of cat and mouse in my sense. And again, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and up until a year and 2 years ago, it was just one algorithm. Everybody was chasing the Google algorithm. But what are you going to do now? Start to chase ChatGPT algorithm, Anthropic's algorithm, Perplexity? It's just, focusing on the people is the right answer.
It is. And increasingly we're seeing, again, going back to the things that have worked for centuries, it's relevancy, it's trust, it's branding, right? And from chatting with fellow SEOs, like they're saying Google, a big traffic signal again from the search world is trust, right? And now it's only getting more and more with the AI, which are presenting like just the one true answer. So it's even, the stakes are even higher for them to get it right, to help find what's super relevant for people. But in this sort of zero-click world where it's harder to get these different signals, like Rand, I mean, that's surely something that SparkToro and you think about, right? How you pull together audience interest, audience relevancy signals. Like, how do you find that? How do you advise people to go in and tap into finding what's relevant to their audiences?
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is our whole world, right? Which is essentially, who are the people that you're trying to reach? What are their interests, demographics, and behaviors? So for interests, I think you can't. I do really recommend. I think every good founder, every good marketer should regularly talk to customers, right? Like, you have actual conversations with them and you hear their concerns and they tell you about what their world and lives are like. But those conversations don't do a great job of revealing sort of statistically significant behavior at scale. Like, hey, you ask 10 of your customers, hey, which social networks are you active on in sort of our field and industry? And they're going to tell you, they're going to give you a mishmash of information that is not where I would put my efforts. What I would instead try to do is say, oh, okay, let's go look at actual behavioral data at scale. So people who visit our website, people who visit our competitor's website, what websites do they also visit? Which of those are, which social networks, which search and AI discovery tools? Casey and I have been looking at, with some interest at the percentage of people who are moving their behavior to things like Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, all those types of things. It doesn't look huge. Like, we think most of that is right now for different purposes than replacing search, but some of it is real. And you can see, I think, Perplexity in particular, with very high tech audiences, that is getting moved over. And so if you reach that crowd, you probably need to pay some significant attention there. But I think this is what audience research is for, right? Like, your job, go figure out who your audience is, what they care about, and where you can find them on the web. Be present in those places. That will also simultaneously help you in, everything from Google rankings to AI inclusion to platform recommendations.
Awesome, thank you. That is so helpful to know. I'm seeing a question in the chat where people would love your opinion. So Itai, I'll start with you. It's a question from Russ, and he's saying he's curious about your opinions, which is, are LLMs introducing a new category of search, example, research only, or are people really using ChatGPT as a replacement for search? What do you all feel? Itai, I'll start with you, and then Randall, come to you.
Yeah, I think it is evolving. I think initially it was a lot for research and discovery, and still is. But I am seeing, for example, with ChatGPT introducing the ChatGPT search, where now they're more competing with Google. Suddenly it makes sense to go into ChatGPT and ask questions about things near me, things searching for small businesses. And the results also are not just textual results. So if I don't know if everybody had a chance in the last couple of weeks, if you go into ChatGPT and say, I'm searching for a coffee place in Boulder, you'll get inside ChatGPT, you'll get an actual map with locations of coffee places in Boulder. So this is, evidently they're going very much into.
Wait, is the map accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Yeah, but it's interesting. It's interesting, like, what businesses show up there, right? So suddenly now small businesses need to think about, hey, some people are going to search for that, and especially you could do really interesting searches where you're asking for maybe coffee places that serve a very specific type of coffee or things like that, and the results will be very, very specific, much more than you would get in Google. So I think the paradigm of the type of shit as ChatGPT and other LLMs add more capabilities, it actually changes the type of searches or adds more capabilities, more types of searches that maybe people didn't do a half year ago, but now are starting to do?
Yeah, I really, I wanted to try and answer this at scale. So we did this, wait here, I'll present it to my screen. So this, we did this analysis of thousands of ChatGPT prompts last year. So, basically whenever, whenever Dados sees a OpenAI ChatGPT URL, right? They have that access to the page. And so we did this big analysis where we looked at all the basically conversations that people had with ChatGPT. This is last year, right? So like behavior is changing fast and rapidly. So I want to grant that this might not be true today, but what people were using ChatGPT for last summer was very programming and education heavy, right? So this is essentially like help with my, help writing code. And a lot of the education, I do think, is potentially search replacement. But if you go into the details of what that was, and you look at the sort of words and phrases that are being used by people in there, to me, it looked more like activities that you could not use a traditional search engine to do. And I think Search GPT and Perplexity are a different story, but Chat GPT, I would guess that no more than 10% of all of the things that people are doing inside that AI system, that large language model, are search adjacent or search replacing.
Yeah. I can attest to that. Just yesterday, my son came to me with some algebra problems. It was amazing. Inside ChatGPT, you just take a picture of we were looking at it, and something seemed wrong in the question. And you take a picture and submit it into ChatGPT, and you ask it to solve, and it solves the question for you. Not just that it solved, it managed to pick up on a typo that there was in the question that made it difficult to answer. And basically kind of rewrote that question in a way that can be answered and showed the whole steps of solving it. So falls right into that education part of the pie chart that you just showed. Something that you definitely could not do in Google and still cannot do today.
Right, exactly.
It's so funny, right? There's some things that you do that you can't do in search. We all, I think I'm not the only one, we all do this, where you end of the workday, turn on Netflix, be like, what should I watch? And then you spend hours, and then you're like, no, I'm too tired, I'm going to bed, or I'll just watch the same thing. Or you're in a new city and you're like, oh, I want to try a new restaurant. Like, what will I like? And the perfect show is there. The perfect restaurant is there, but we just can't find it. And search isn't going to tell you, but an AI is going to be trained on you. And
I like it for show recommendations. Like I think it's decent for, which I should watch on Netflix. But Perna, I have had so many people like use it for restaurants, and it is awful. It's so bad at restaurants, because here's why I think it's terrible at restaurants. If you are familiar with how LLMs work, right? What they're doing is looking at words that frequently come after other words. And so if you were to aggregate together all the times that people on the internet said best restaurants and Seattle and which restaurants are in there, you would be like, oh, I don't want to go to any of those. Those are not good restaurants, right? They're like, I don't know. It's like what sort of the average of Gen Pop and like paid reviews and the Seattle Times, over 10 years sort of thinks. And that is a terrible metric. It will take you to popular touristy spots that do not serve you good food and overcharge you, and it's way too busy, and it's in an area that it's hard to park. Like, you'll get just all the wrong kinds of recommendations. Will and I did it in Boston a few weeks ago, and his admin was like, yeah, I asked ChatGPT for this, because I was like, oh no, come on, don't do that.
So the question is that, will people learn how to ask the questions the right way in order to get the off the beaten track type of restaurants, right? Like, is AI able to read all these reviews that were ever written and come up with, some of these restaurants that don't appear on the best 10 restaurants in Seattle type of list?
Yeah. Yeah.
How will they
Well,
be
and
deemed, right? Oh, I saw this thing on TikTok about in London, the locals are trying to send the tourists to the terrible restaurant. Did you see that?
yes, yes. So this was like a Reddit campaign to try and get this terrible touristy steakhouse in Covent Garden or something to be the #1 most ChatGPT recommended restaurant and the #1 in Google Maps as well. If you ask like where to go in London. And I believe that they had quite a bit of success with it already. Like it was already ranking very highly in Google. They had moved it all the way up. And we walked by it. Will Critchlow and I and Geraldine were like walking to an event in London in October. And we walked by the restaurant. I'm like, that's the place. It's that steakhouse they're trying to make happen. And yeah, they look plenty busy. So,
well, somebody made fetch happen. So there we go.
Yeah,
well, if you've
way to
got
go,
any
Reddit.
Giacomo has a question, which is, what are your thoughts on Google SERP evolving to answer user queries directly, reducing the needs to, I mean, that's the whole thing we're really talking about today. So how can you drive conversions if the SERP resolves the query itself? Yeah, that's a really good question, which is, how do you track the value? Or like, how do you get the value?
Yeah, Itai, I feel like there must be a lot of queries that people enter into Google where Duda would be kind of the solution, right? Like it would be ideal if this is not true for SparkToro. Nobody asks the questions that we solve, but I think a lot of people ask the question you solve. And so I'm curious what you and sort of your marketing team tries to do when Google gives that instant answer. Like, do you try to get into those answers?
Yeah, so obviously, like, things that we are important for us to show up high on the SERP for example, digital digital tool for web designers, or website builder for agencies, or white label website builder. All these things are still extremely important for us. We write about them a lot, and we will show up high in the SERPs. Hopefully, we will also show up in the automatic AI overview, because Google is using the top results from the search in order to inform the answer there. So again, it's going back to the things that we talked before. You just kind of need to keep doing the same things that you did. Make sure that you have great content, indexable content on your website and all the other assets that you own.
Yeah, my sense is there's sort of, a process behind this. I don't do a lot of SEO myself anymore, in fairness, Giacomo, but I do think quite a bit about when people when people ask a question sort of in their own minds or to any system on the web. I don't care if it's an AI or a search engine or whatever. How do we make sure that even if we don't currently rank for it, SparkToro has the best answer to that? Because I have this belief that essentially over time, and I'm going to clarify what I mean by best, but I have this belief that over time, if you have the best answer to that, which doesn't just mean the highest quality answer, it also means the most shareable answer, the one that people will cite and point to, and the press and media is going to write about it. People are going to talk about it on social media. If you ask somebody privately, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you should totally go to SparkToro and check out this article because they have the answer to this particular question." That's my goal, and I believe that over time you can earn rankings through that, rather than sort of, how do I, 10 years ago, my goal was like brute force my way into the rankings by getting like the right combination of links and anchor text and mentions and, all that kind of stuff. Optimize the title tag, optimize the content on the page. And now I'm much more, how do I get people to reference my stuff, and the right people, the influential people to reference my stuff. So those AI overviews, from what I have seen, they are extremely language sensitive. So it's not, when we talk about like the best content and the most referenceable content, right now, if you were algo chasing purely and not sort of like long-term focused, you're just, hey, how do I get it into it right today? I believe the sort of smart SEO folks, and Perna, you can correct me, you know a bunch of these people too, but I think the smart SEO folks are basically saying your language phrasing is absolutely key. So the way people ask the question, for example, if someone searches Google for who sends traffic on the web versus what are the largest sources of referral traffic, because SparkToro's article is called Who Sends Traffic on the Web and How Much, we are in the AI overview for who sends traffic. But we are not in the AI overview for what are the web's biggest sources of referral. I think they reference a study from Statista or somebody like that for that one. And so if we had, kind of optimized the way that we language talked about the thing, we would be in the overview. And this is why, I think the classic forms, like you were saying, like the classic forms of keyword research, doing the things that SEOs have always done, actually still matters even in AI overview world.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have one more question in the chat at the moment, and then I'm going to jump to a couple of measurement questions. So this is a question from Deborah, where Deborah's asking, so in your opinion, Itai and Rand, is the best strategy now to go as broad and build presence on as many social and platforms and search engine directories as possible? Assuming that, of course, it's quality content. What do you all feel?
It's a good question. I think I feel like you need to go broad and go deep at the same time, unfortunately. But when going broad, like consistency matters. So that again, the same information about your business is consistent across these different channels, so that you're not kind of confusing these algorithms, right? Your opening hours, telephone numbers, business information, all that should be really consistent. I think leveraging, I see a lot of, when, for example, doing some of these local searches, I see that a lot of these kind of best 10 lists tend to come up. So if there's a possibility to get on the best 10 restaurant list in Seattle, I don't think that's going to harm. I think that could help you. If you can get on a couple of those lists and these, algorithms are trained to go and search for these, it's probably a good thing. I also think it's good, now going back to deep content, things that, like taking your website, adding more pages, more content on specific things that are unique to your business, I think is a good thing as well.
Yeah, I would. Okay, I sort of want to like show you this graphic that I think is relevant to this. I know I keep showing my screen, not showing my screen. Okay, here we go. So this graphic, Perna, who told me to do this was Dana DiTomaso, who I think is just, yeah, she's a genius. And she was like, hey, from a data visualization perspective, like make 2 pie charts, one showing sort of where your audience pays attention, where you can influence them, and then another one showing where you are allocating your budget, right? Your spend, your marketing time and energy. And then when you compare those two, you will see the differences, right? So you can see like, oh, my audience pays attention to a lot of email newsletters. 100,000 of them subscribe to, a various mix. And we spend 1% of our time and budget trying to get into anyone else's email newsletter. That's probably dumb as hell. Like that is a huge mismatch and a massive missed opportunity. We also might be over-indexing on Google search keywords, right? Like it looks like we're spending, 33% of our time and budget on something that is less than 10% of where all people discover and learn about us. And I think about this idea when I think about the challenge of going broad or narrow. Like one thing about, Deborah, about your question is there's this implied problem in there, which is almost no company or team or marketing person has unlimited time and resources. Mm-hmm. And so you can't, be everywhere is like nice advice from Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Who has, who's got his like hundreds of millions of dollars and like, tons and tons of energy and all this kind of stuff. But it doesn't work for most of us. Like, SparkToro is 3 people. It's me, Casey, and Amanda. Casey is not going to do any marketing. Like, he's really busy, he's busy with other stuff. He's working on the programming side. So it's up to me and Amanda. That's only 2 people. We don't, have a budget for advertising. We could if we absolutely had to, but what we instead spend our time doing is trying to find the biggest pieces of the pie, right? So for us, that's things like social feeds, industry websites, email newsletters. That's where we focus sort of 70, 80% of our energy. And it's not because we couldn't put more into these other ones. It's because I'd sort of rather be good at a few channels. Be great at a few channels than be mediocre and be everywhere. Mm-hmm. I think that focusing on those few places where you can, really make a difference is often a better trade-off than being everywhere. Is it also true that if your goal is get into the AI, systems and the large language models, that like being present in as many places as possible over and over again with the right words and phrases, yeah, that makes a difference. No doubt about it. In our case, we sort of shrug our shoulders and say, that's not where we're going to win. We're going to win on people referring to us, on email newsletters, on social media that our audience pays attention to, and in industry blogs and websites, conferences and events. Like, that's where we've chosen to focus our energy. It's also what we're good at. And I would think about that too. Like, I think for every marketer, every CEO, every marketing team, even CFOs who are like historically terrible at thinking this way, no offense to them, some offense to them. I've never met a CFO who I didn't argue about with marketing. It just never happened. But I think that putting your efforts into places where you personally have passion and interest will result in better ROI than being present in as many places as possible.
I could not agree more. By the way, Rand, I'm so impressed at your ability to find the right graphic in a split second. You're like, oh, I've got the perfect visual, and then it's up. Meanwhile, let me look through 7,000 folders. Like, where did I store it again? But
I use this old school thing for it. It's called Google.com. I know no one uses that anymore, but it's very handy. I just search for like SparkToro, where is audience? And then they're like, bing, here you go.
Yeah, it's just hard to attribute it afterwards.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Giacomo, I agree. Rand is releasing facts. And I always think about that, the resentment, right? The human side. Like, building any channel up, it takes a long time. It takes consistency. You're not going to have 2 or 3 super popular posts and then make it, right? It takes consistent efforts. And then you can be great at a lot of things for some of the time, but not all of the time. And I know it too. Even for me, I focus mainly on LinkedIn, not just because I work there, but it's a brilliant platform and it reaches the audience that I'm reaching. I used to try to post 5 days a week, and then I got so resentful at having to come up, and I knew that my quality would suffer. And people can tell that in what you create, the energy that comes through. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do once or twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, and that's it. I'll still enjoy doing it, because you said you're a solopreneur as well. Have a presence, almost like the T-shaped marketer. You can, if you have a presence, for example, on TikTok, have one TikTok that says, go follow me on LinkedIn. And that's how I spend most of my time there, but claim your title so no one else can take it, for example. So start one at a time, see what you can repurpose, and then it's awesome. Okay. We have time for one super quick question, and then I'll go back to KPIs. And Ran, I'm going to come to you first, and then Itai, I'll ask you the same. In your 60-second answer, as clicks become less reliable as a performance metric, what are alternative benchmarks or KPIs that you've seen brands use to measure success? So Rand, 60-second answer from you, and then Itai the same.
Okay, yeah, so I don't have time to Google it or show you, but we do have this thing on SparkToro that answers exactly this question. What we did is we called it a hard to measure dashboard. So if you search for a hard to measure dashboard SparkToro, you'll find it. And essentially, it's just a Google sheet, and it has things that happen at the very top level of discovery. So this would be impressions that we get on LinkedIn, impressions that we get on Blue Sky and Threads and we don't use Twitter all that much anymore, but historically when we used to use Twitter, sort of like all that impression data, people who watch our YouTube videos, that sort of stuff. Then the next thing is people who search for our brand or traffic to our website. That's the next category. And then the next category below that is like email newsletter signups, free signups to use the free version of SparkToro. And below that, paid signups and retention and churn and those kinds of things. And this dashboard over time, like it has all these different metrics in it. You can build your own, right? I'm not saying use exactly our metrics. They're our metrics because that's the channels we focus on. But it gives you this ability to see over time how each different sort of part of the discovery funnel influences the next one. So we can see, for example, LinkedIn video views are strongly correlated with free signups to SparkToro over the following 2 to 6 weeks. And like that correlation to me means a lot. I know that I can bring up those numbers if I am creating and producing more interesting videos, producing things that other people make videos about. So I think that's a measurement tactic that you can use even if, traffic is only one little line in here.
Itai, I'm going to tailor your question a little bit. So yes, please answer that. But also, like, how are you positioning the value of a website, or how should agencies position the value of a website to their clients as well? So in line with the measurement, like how would you? Can you give me a 60-second answer?
I'll break it in 30 seconds on the first one and 30 seconds on the other one. So you're getting less information, less attributable data, but that doesn't mean that you cannot ask questions on your website as well from visitors of how did they find you, right? So a lot of like the dashboards that we look at from a marketing perspective show us the traffic and show us from where we got it, but then it shows us who are, based on questions that we ask, who are the actual customers, right? Are these SMBs? Are these agencies? Are these bigger agencies, freelancers? So you can ask how many people are in the team, how many clients do they serve? So these are the questions that are relevant to us. You can ask the questions that are relevant to you and learn from the traffic that you're getting. So that was on the first thing. The second thing, in terms of website, I think that my bottom line is that, website continues to be as important as it ever was. This is the place that you own. This is where you communicate directly with your customers. It's how you get to choose how you display your brand. Unlike social media or any of these other channels that you have a little bit less control, here you can really do whatever you want to do. You can include whatever content you deem is relevant to your customers and have that direct one-to-one communication. So don't give up on that. Actually, write the opposite. Double down, invest. This is the content that eventually will be surfaced up and is going to be used by all these AI chatbots.
Yeah, I would reinforce that, Itai. I think you're absolutely right. All these things that I talk about all the time about like zero-click platforms and being present in native places and putting up all our video on YouTube and LinkedIn and all these other things that are not our site, that does not mean I believe that the website is not crucial and valuable. That is your own channel. And 30 years of people's like history and behavioral, what they're used to is when I finally decide that I want to transact, buy from, research something, I'm going to their website. Yeah. That is, I don't think that behavior will ever be replaced. Everyone talks about like, oh, well, the TikTok generation, they never go to websites. Okay, but just wait until they're 25 or 30. And I promise you, just like every generation before them, they will get emails, they will visit websites. That is where sort of business happens. And so taking your foot off that pedal is a mistake.
I love that, right? And we have precedents for it, right? TV didn't kill the radio; it stayed. Mm-hmm. Mobile didn't kill desktop. There's a time and place for everything. So, gents, in the last 60 seconds that we have, where should folks want to follow you? Where can they find you? Naturally, I'm on LinkedIn at Purnavirji, so you can find me there. But Rand, where should people go to follow you and learn more?
Yeah, so we have an email newsletter at SparkToro and a blog that are both sort of about all the topics we've talked about today. So if folks are interested in those, that's where I would go, sparktoro.com. And if you want to follow me, I am most active on LinkedIn and Blue Sky Threads. I'm basically like cross-posting to those right now. So Rand Fish at Blue Sky and Rand DeRuyter on Threads.
Awesome. Itai, you?
Mostly LinkedIn.
I love hearing this, gents. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to our behind the scenes crew, Anton and Santi, for bringing this together. Rand, Itai, this has been so wonderful. And thank you all so much for being here and adding your brilliant questions. The session will be available on YouTube later for you all to rewatch or catch anything. But otherwise, have a lovely rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Take
It
care.
was fantastic.